What up, Bucs fans, NFL fans, and betting fans? Welcome back to Pewter Picks and Props. We are going to get into Week 10 of the NFL. This show is presented by PewterReport.com and also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Make sure you use that promo code Pewter, P-E-W-T-E-R. Get a first deposit bonus when you play using Underdog Fantasy. I'm your host, Matt Matera from PewterReport.com. Let's dive right into it. My record last week, not ideal. I split with the Bucs going 1-1. I went 2-5 on my NFL picks. I was by far my worst week, but I'm ready to rebound. I'm refocused. I'm done picking a lot of road underdogs, things like that. I'm getting back to basics. Got too cute with over and under, so getting back to square one. I still have a winning record overall, and I did go 2-1 with my player props. So bear with me. Still winning you money. Plan on winning you a lot more money this week as well. Let me find that little ticker tape. There we go. There's my record. You can check it out throughout the show. Of course, as we always do, let's start with the player props for Bucs versus Titans. A must-win game for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers if they have any chance of doing things this season and reaching the playoffs for another year in a row. I went with 5 players in this one, and I'm actually leaning kind of heavy with the Tennessee Titans. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm choosing the Tennessee Titans, but nonetheless, starting out, I'm going Rachaad White higher than 79.5 rushing and receiving yards. It's been 2 games in a row now that Rachaad White has reached over the century mark in terms of scrimmage yards, not just one or the other. He's really doing it with both, which is really cool to see. I think the Bucs got to continue to ride Rachaad White. They found something with him. They found something with him as a receiving running back, so just keep feeding him the football and take the higher on the total yards for Rachaad White. Next, I have DeAndre Hopkins, Titans wide receiver, lower than 60.5 receiving yards. Now, the reason I'm picking this one, you know who's going to be lined up against DeAndre Hopkins? That's Carlton Davis. Carlton is coming off of arguably the worst game of his career, where he allowed 3 touchdowns, was a big reason why the Bucs lost, where they gave up 39 points. But in the past, Carlton Davis has played very, very well against DeAndre Hopkins. It's a guy that has better size, much more lanky, and while he is fast, he doesn't have that quick twitch speed that you kind of saw with the Texans. So I look at a big bounce-back game for Carlton Davis. You know he's going to be pissed off when he gets onto the field and starts playing. So I think he maybe not locks down, but he shuts down DeAndre Hopkins enough to make sure that he is not a factor in the game. So I'll take lower on 60.5 receiving yards for DeAndre Hopkins. Sticking with the Tennessee Titans, Will Levis, the rookie that everyone's been talking about, this will be his 3rd career start. While I do think the Bucs will improve defensively, I don't trust Todd Bowles to break away from playing that tissue paper soft zone. So what does that mean? Players are going to be open underneath. It may not always be the big shot down the field, but we're talking about 19 completions. He had 19 one week. I believe he had 22 for another. So he's averaging those number of completions through the first 2 games of his career. I believe he'll continue that. So I'm taking higher on 19 completions for Will Levis. My last Titans pick in this game, lower than 65.5 rushing yards for Derrick Henry. Main reason for this one, Bucs know the Titans want to run the football, and they're going to do everything they can. They're going to put every single resource into stopping the run with Derrick Henry, who's had an up and down season. I got him on my fantasy team, so I've kind of seen it firsthand. So I will take the lower on the rushing yards for Derrick Henry. I'm a little baby over here. My last pick, going back to the Bucs, I'm going lower than 30.5 receiving yards for Cade Otton. Don't get me wrong. I loved what I saw from Cade Otton last game. 70 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. Is that going to be a consistent thing? Or is that an anomaly? So let's remember, Chris Godwin, very quiet in that game. Only had 2 receptions for whatever it was, less than 20 yards. Is that going to be the case every single week? No, I don't necessarily think so. I want to believe that K-Dot can still be a factor, but 30 yards in this game, give me the under. So one more time, Rachaad White higher than 79.5 rushing and receiving yards, lower on the receiving yards for DeAndre Hopkins, higher on 19 completions for Will Levis, lower than 65.5 rushing yards for Derrick Henry, and lower than 30.5 receiving yards for tight end Cade Otton. Moving on to Bucs Titans pick and the over-under plus an anytime touchdown. I am going to take the Buccaneers once again. You may call me crazy, but the Bucs have covered the spread in their last 2 games. I know it was extremely disappointing what they did against the Houston Texans. But, CJ Stroud taking the knee at the end of the game secured that the Bucs covered the 2.5 spread or whatever it was. So, they've covered the spread in their last 2. They're 5-3 against the spread. And let's just face it, the Bucs desperately need a win in this game. They're back at home. It is a rookie quarterback with Will Levis. I know he hasn't totally looked at that from time to time, but there is desperation. There has to be desperation by the Buccaneers in this game. And at -1, you're essentially just saying they are going to win. The streak has to end at some point. I don't think they're going to lose out for the remainder of the season. And this is also a very telling game because they play the 49ers next week. And if they don't win on Sunday at home, where they only have 1 win this season, you might as well tank and get ready for next year's NFL draft. So I think the Bucs do rally around together. The locker room hasn't turned on each other just yet. They might be rebelling against Todd Bowles a little bit, but they're not pointing fingers at each other just yet. The reason why I like the over of 38.5, Bucs have only hit the over twice so far this season, but that included last week. Am I expecting the Bucs offense to score 37 points again? No, but I do think that they took steps in the right direction. And most importantly, when they get things going with Rachaad White, even a semblance of a running game. And Rachaad White had, 73 rushing yards last game? It wasn't like he lit the world on fire. It's not like he's going to be in contention for the rushing record this year. But any little threat of a good running game opens up a ton of different things for the Bucs. So if they could just run the ball a little bit, they obviously got to stop Simmons in the middle. That's when Mike will get more involved. That's when Chris Godwin will get more involved. So while I think the Bucs defense definitely gets back on track, I don't think they're going to pitch a shutout by any means. I think I predicted this one 28-21 or around those. I can see both teams scoring in the 20s, which would hit the over because 38.5 is so low, and things got to counteract a little bit. There's been so many unders for the Bucs. They hit the over last week. I believe that trend continues. So one more time, Bucs -1 over 38.5. I'm taking Trey Palmer anytime touchdown. What was that? Plus 450. Choosing that one merely for the fact he plays 70 to 80% of the time. Chris Godwin doesn't score touchdowns. He has 1 on the season. Trey Palmer has 2. So you're more than likely going to see a touchdown from Trey Palmer than you would Chris Godwin. I know Rachaad White had 2 last game. Cade Otton had 2 as well. If they're not always going to go to their stars, that's where you find a good solution choosing Trey Palmer. And for that value, sprinkle a little bit of money on it, absolutely fine. So Trey Palmer plus 450, that will be my pick for anytime touchdown for the Bucs players. Moving on, let's get into my NFL picks, where this is where I need to bounce back. Bucs need to bounce back. I need to do better with my NFL picks. As you can see on the screen, I'm now 32, 29, and 2. So I'm still up, but not as up as I want to be. So my picks for week 10 of the NFL season, we are starting off with Colts -1.5 against the Patriots. This game is being played in Germany. So we are talking about another early start. I went with the Germany game last week. Didn't work well with the Dolphins, but For this one with the Colts, I mean, even though they don't have their guy Anthony Richardson, he's out for the year, and Gardner Minshew is the new man in charge at quarterback. The Colts can put up points, and this being a neutral site game, there's not an advantage to the Patriots. I mean, there's been talks about the Patriots firing Bill Belichick before they even get back to the States if they lose this game. The Patriots are a terrible team. The Colts only being a 1.5-point favorite. Man, it would really suck if the Colts just won by 1 point, but I don't see that happening. Give me the Colts minus 1.5 in a neutral site game. Weird saying that in the NFL, but that's what it is. Colts minus 1.5 over the New England Patriots. Next up, taking the over in Texans Bengals. That is 47.5. I'll just put it this way. I love Joe Burrow. I think he's such an exciting quarterback to watch. I think the Bengals are an extremely exciting team to watch. The Texans just allowed 39 points to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who were struggling heavily on offense. So I think it'll be a cakewalk for the Bengals to put up points. And CJ Stroud has to be riding high off of a 470 plus yard passing day, which was the rookie record, and 5 touchdowns. I think Stroud is still going to be buzzing. It's a lot of points, nonetheless. Actually, that should say 47.5. It's a lot of points, nonetheless. But you got 2 very high-scoring offenses. I'll take the over. Might be 47.5, maybe 48.5, depending. The lines always change. But yeah, over Texans and Bengals. Next up, Falcons minus 1.5 at the Cardinals. This is the only game where I'm picking the team that is playing on the road. I know Kyler Murray's coming back for the Arizona Cardinals, but let's be real. The Falcons are another team that absolutely needs a win. They lost to Will Levis and the Titans 2 weeks ago. They lost to the Vikings with Josh Dobbs just getting there on Wednesday. They are a team that has to be angry, that has to be pissed off, and they know that they have everything in front of them. Kyler Murray, this is going to be his first game back from a very, very serious injury. I don't think he's going to be running around everywhere, lighting the scoreboard up. It takes a lot of time, and I know that the Cardinals have waited and they've been patient with Kyler Murray. I don't think he's going to be shot out of a cannon right away. There's still going to be a lot of struggles for this Cardinals team. I like the Falcons minus 1.5 against the Cardinals. Sorry, Bucs fans. Next up, Chargers +3 against the Lions. Chargers are at home. I know they don't have too much of a home field advantage because it's LA. There's fans from all over different places. But one thing that the Chargers do is that they keep it close in every single game. And their offense was absolutely abysmal against the Jets. And that's probably more of a credit to the Jets defense more than anything else. So you're looking at Justin Herbert playing 10 times better than he did last week. I know the Lions can put up the Lions can put up points. It's going to be an absolute track meet. But the Chargers play every single game close, especially when they are home. So I'll take the points with the home team, the Chargers +3. By the way, my lock of the week is this next one coming up. It's a team that I watch a lot, but I am not picking them in this game. My last pick for the NFL games, I have the Raiders +1 against the New York Jets. I mean, the Raiders look like one of the best teams in football now since they fired their coach, Josh McDaniel. And Antonio Pierce comes in. He's from Compton. He loves the Raider mantra. All the players absolutely love Antonio Pierce. They're smoking cigars in the locker room after the game. The Jets, on the other hand, have maybe the worst offense in the history of football. Zach Wilson is a terrible, terrible quarterback. If the Jets can't run the ball, which teams know all they can do is run the ball with Breece Hall, there's no way they're going to move the football. Jets defense, arguably the best in the league. They are fantastic. They are phenomenal. Unless the Jets defense is scoring touchdowns or getting safeties, which they have this season, at least getting a couple safeties, they're not going to be able to move the football at all. Max Crosby may have 8 sacks in this game. He really might. Zach Wilson is just a statue back there. He looks nervous. He's afraid to mess up. The Jets will not be able to score. They have 8 touchdowns in 8 games. That is absolutely pathetic. Meanwhile, the Raiders still have a ton of talent. They've all rallied together because they hated their coach that they just fired. They killed the Giants last week, who have just as bad of an offense as the Jets do. Lock of the week, Raiders +1. Unfortunately, this is on Sunday Night Football, so everybody is going to be able to watch it. But those are my picks for the game. One last time, Colts -1.5, Texans Bengals over, Falcons -1.5, Chargers +3, and Raiders +1. You could see my underdog pick. Nope, that's from last week. You could see these underdog picks right here. Rashad White, DeAndre Hopkins, Will Levis, Derrick Henry, and Cade Otton. And of course, give you one last second to check it out. And of course, my pick for the Bucs game, Bucs -1, the over of 38.5, and Trey Palmer anytime touchdown. Appreciate everybody that is watching this show. If you're not already following me, my social media is at Matty4, the underscore Matera, Matera. That's on X. On Instagram, just take out the 4, and it's Matty underscore Matera. And then, of course, Pewter Report. We are at Pewter Report on Twitter, Threads, Facebook, Instagram, and our YouTube channel is Pewter Report TV. Please like and subscribe to this video. Please comment on this video as well. It helps grow our audience over at Pewter Report, helps grow this show too, which has helped a lot of people win some money. So appreciate everybody. Thank you all for watching. Good luck. Let's win some more money this week.